What's going on, Dragons? Happy Friday. And as always, I'm your host, Cory. Welcome to episode 27, your weekly Friday Night Magic pre-show of the UrCast. Joining me in the Dragon's Den this week is my other half, the illustrious Cole host, Cole.
Yeah, I liked that. I was going to say yeehaw, but that kind of caught me off guard. The Cole host. I might incorporate that into the Twitter bio, so to speak.
Also in studio with us is none other. You love him. You love to see him out on arena suffering so you don't have to. KenEDH is joining us in studio, but not in the same place. So
I was gonna say I'm in my house. So the proverbial internet studio.
So are we.
With all the time you spend at the studio, it might be all of our houses, you know. We're working so hard on this.
Studio is where the heart is.
Ken, we obviously know you from Twitch streaming and Magic content online, but what's going on? What's the channel about? Where would people know you from, or what's your expertise, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. A lot has changed since last time I was on. I mean, a lot has changed and a lot hasn't. I'm still on the same channel. I'm still in the same location, but we're doing new things now. We kind of shifted our Good Clean Commander series, which is our Commander gameplay, and we're turning it into a bit of a live stream situation, and it's been a lot of fun. We are going about every other Friday night, give or take, as we kind of get that figured out, but we've had some amazing guests already. We've had fun people hanging out. We've had a great audience. We've had great games, so it's been a total blast. And the other thing is I have also started to do historic Brawl arena content. I think it's just called Brawl now. They took out the historic. But if you're familiar with the channel at all, you know Ashley, my co-host, has been doing it for a while now. And we thought, you know what? What if I started doing it and we could like divide out some of these decks? Because, you know, there's always new stuff coming out, and it can be a lot for one person to try and handle it all. So now with both of us at it, we're getting to kind of spread our wings a little bit and have some fun with that. So still all on the same MTG channel, which, you know, is EMPTYG. It is a pun, and I don't remember the origin story of it, but it is a pun, apparently.
It was funny. So I was playing a game with Ashley the other night, and I drew a token because it was one of those like name your secret opponent or name a player in secret. And I drew a picture of an empty cup and wrote that it was empty, and then I just wrote the letter G. And she didn't understand it. She was like, I don't know what this pun means. This means nothing to me.
Oh, Ashley. It's great to be back on, though. I've been very excited with hearing my name come up here and there on the podcast as I listen, because I am an avid listener. So everything you say, I've heard. So just remember that.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a threat. No.
Oh, it's a promise.
Well, we're recording this on a Wednesday, but we did just play some really great games over the weekend and at a little micro Command Fest event, and got to sling some good spells in person. It was a good time.
Yeah, we need to come up with a name for it, I think, because I feel like our little community now is growing. We're meeting a lot of new fun people in the community, and by community I mean like the mid central Florida area. So it's been a blast. We found excuses to come all meet up every month or so, and we've got to just sling some spells in a fun, chill environment. So I've been very happy with it.
Yeah. So it's always a blast. And actually, what's funny is I had this realization today. I was doing a little pre-planning for the podcast for like upcoming episodes. So the next day we meet, which, you know, I can't give out the time and date because it might be like a lone survivor kind of, you know, all the president and the cabinet in one location situation. But it coincides with the same day that we launched the podcast last year. So it'll be like the 1 year anniversary / us all meeting up to play Commander in the mid to central Florida region.
Wow.
Yeah. We're workshopping that name.
Yeah. Mid to central Florida region Commander group.
Love it.
LLC.
There's an acronym there somewhere. Magna.
Yeah. So I think it's a good week in Magic. I do have one other quick thing before we get into the main topic of today. I have to come clean on one of my hot takes from last week that I fell into a little bit of hot water for, and that was I may have made some absolutely correct judgments about background commanders and backgrounds in the command zone. Now, I was still 100% correct, but I got off of our recording after just blasting, oh, they suck in the command zone. They should definitely be in the 99 with better commanders. And then I played a game with another content creator who had a background deck, and I kind of secretly loved the deck.
Oh, what was the background combo?
It's Lizelle and a Acolyte of Bahamut.
Oh, so it was Ashley.
Yeah, it was Ashley. Yeah, we played on a charity stream, and she played it. I actually think she won, which I would know because I'm pretty sure I came in 4th place and spent most of the time watching the deck pop off. So
I mean, I've seen them go off. I have to hand it to the players who were able to put together a commander background pair and have it work, because there's cool, fun things, and I think that's such an overlooked mechanic. And I really hope we are able to do things similar with that, whether it's background or something else. I'm always here for the variety.
Yeah, so I'm not going to rescind my hot take from last week, but I will say I was humbled a little bit. I'll give her that much. But anyway, so
determined.
Listen, it's still better than Friends Forever. We'll stick with that and we'll move on. So, main topic this week, and the reason why I've roped both of you in here is we're going to yeehaw a little bit into Thunder Junction in the next couple weeks.
Nice.
I know, it was a beautiful segue on my part. Now, Thunder Junction obviously surrounds Oko and his merry band of piratey outlaws. Something like that. Some gist along those lines.
Right.
So what I thought would be a fun little game we'll play today is the three of us are going to take turns and we're going to draft out our Dream Magic Lore Outlaw Gang. I don't know what you're going to name your gang. You can insert a name if you've got one in mind. I was thinking, like Ken's Corral of Rowdy Bunches. I don't know.
That's
workshop
good.
Yeah. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah, we'll workshop it. So we're going to draft a total of 5 gang members for each of us. Couple rules here. So we had a little bit of a pre-recording Rule 0 discussion, as you should in any Magic the Gathering environment.
Right.
So we're going to be drafting a total of 5 members for our gang, one of which can come from Oko's canonical gang within the storyline. Doesn't necessarily have to, but you have the option to kind of swipe one away because they're obviously treacherous marauders that could easily be turncoats. And we're going to be drafting in a serpentine-style draft order as chosen by the highly scientific, always reliable random.org once our names were inserted. So what that means is if you go and select first, it'll be first, second, third. Then in round 2, the third person will select first. Second will always be second, and then the first person from round 1 will be third. So you kind of have to be a little strategic about your choices here. Other than that, I think everything's fair game. We did agree that I believe Unfinity cards are legal in this draft. However, everything must be a named character, so no, I want to pick Arbor Elf or something like that. It's got to be someone with a name.
We didn't talk about the Unfinity thing. We showed up on the day, and one of us had an Unfinity card on their list, and the other 2 were kind enough to let it roll. But I think, I don't know about you guys, but I kept pretty much everything within universe. I didn't exploit any of the Bilbo Baggins / Optimus Primes of the world.
I thought about that.
Your wild gang is like Optimus Prime, Sauron,
Rick from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Quick clarification question: does the faceless one count as a legendary creature? Can we choose the faceless one?
The faceless one is the most legendary creature, actually.
Honestly, and the name fits too. Not that I picked it, but since you were talking about it last week, I thought it'd be fun just to clarify whether or not that counts.
I think the faceless one for our purposes here is like having two Sakashimas on your team, right?
Oh, Sakashima, that'd be fun.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
One other quick rattle of a list, just so we're all on the same page. So Oko's gang, for the record, so we can select one of the following, and it is a lengthy list. We've got Oko himself, Big Daddy Oko, Annie, Kellen, who's back for like the 18th set in a row,
Ooh.
Vraska, Rakdos, Tiny Bones, Gissa, Goralf, Ariette, Karavik, Satoru Umazawa, Malcolm, and Breaches.
And Jace question mark?
Yeah, is this Jace or is it are we still
don't
going with
know.
Ashiok?
The
By the way,
the verdict's
this
out on
is
that.
this is a question that I saw posed online and I find it very upsetting. So somebody put out there, has Jace been Ashiok the whole time, even pre Thunder Junction?
That sounds
Upsetting.
that sounds like a great question of the day.
It is an interesting.
Was Jace Ashiok during the events of Eldraine?
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's also very annoying of a question because it's going to rattle around there with no clear answer.
We love an ambiguous question.
It'll all come to light in Bloomborough with furry Jace.
Yeah, so that'll be your confirmation. Is there a furry Jace and a furry Ashiok in the same set? If they're not, then the mystery's still out there. All right. So, as determined by random.org, the internet's foremost randomizer and overall dictating god of
Just
numbers.
roll a d20. Just roll a d20.
It's already been. You know what, Cole? You
play
were
Magic,
first,
just roll
according to
D20.
random. You were first according to random, but you're sassing me, and that's a tenuous hold you've got on that first round pick. So we've got Cole. Ken, you'll be rounded up number 2, and I will be bringing up the rear. So you guys get a little bit of an edge on me round 1.
Yeehaw! Well, howdy, partners.
So let's do it. Let's yeehaw. Click your spurs. Cole.
So just to be clear, if a character is named, it's no longer available for anybody else's team. So that the purpose of the draft, you got, I'm choosing strategically based on who I think is most likely to get stolen. But this is also the leader of my gang. Every gang needs a charismatic leader, and so I stole, probably from the both of you, Jolene, the Plunder Queen. Jolene, she's the queen of plundering. She's strong and charismatic. And she doesn't have a ton of like lore, but I think you look at her art, you look at her. She's in the Riveters. She's clearly she's been in a gang before. This is not her first rodeo, and that's a outlaw. That's a Thunder Junction term. That's all I got.
She has a new card, right?
I know. So
she is in the set. I don't think she's a part of any one specific crew. But she is hanging out on Thunder Junction.
Yeah, I took a look, and I actually really like the art on this, where she's punching somebody out of their boots so hard that just the boots and like dust remains.
Yeah, the art is super solid. Okay, and I'll say this. I don't know about you, Ken, but she was on my list. And I made my list pre-Thunder Junction spoilers. So it was a fair, legit. Now, I do like the fact that WotC is obviously selecting characters out of my mindset to put in Thunder Junction, because I was like, Jolene is a natural fit for the setting.
Yeah, that was not on my list, but the minute you said it, I was like, oh, if I had thought of that, it would have been on my list.
Yeah. She was number 2 for me. Number 2.
Oh, dang.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, sniping right off the top, Cole. It's an aggressive move on your part.
We level one up. Is it my turn?
The tumbleweed's rolling over to you.
All right. I really appreciated your kind of prefacing the reason why it would make sense logistically for us to steal one of Oko's crew members, and not because I kind of had a bit of a hissy fit when I found out we weren't allowed to pick from that group. Because my number 1 pick, and it was always going to be my number 1 pick, is my Lord and Savior Rakdos.
Nice.
I can't not have Rakdos. It's one of my, if not my favorite character. and I have to show up for Daddy R. Yeah, I'm
Daddy
gonna stick with
R.
that.
Okay. Really doubling down on that one, huh?
Right, yeah. I know, I think it works. It sounds good. It sounded right leaving my tongue. But yes, Rakdos is the guild leader of the Rakdos clan in Ravnica, and it's just all about being chaotic and evil, and I really vibe with that. We even had discussion over the weekend. We were just kind of casually mulling about
Uh-huh.
what guild we would kind of fall under, and I felt like Rakdos was my place to be. So I thought it was only fitting that I would take my the first member of my crew to be Rakdos.
I like it. Also, sweet card by the way. If you've seen the new spoiler for it, it's a
Yeah.
really cool card.
Yeah, it's very similar to I have a Don Andres deck, so I think it's one of those. It falls under the 99 of that deck
Mhm.
versus being its own deck. But I am actually in the process of finally building that Rakdos Lord of Riots deck I've been putting up for 4
Nice.
years.
That's such a
So
fun,
you don't want to
fun deck.
go. You don't want to go showstopper and start flipping coins on people.
I do love chaos, but I've had the idea for this other deck literally in my mind since I started Magic, so I thought it was time. So that was
Now,
my first pick.
so he's described as being as big as a dragon and arms and legs muscled and proportioned like a gigantic wrestler. He says, I've read he's 30 feet tall. So I'm curious, is like, what's his, how is he fitting into your squad? Is he kind of like the muscle? Is he he's got some cool titles, the Defiler, the Enslaver, the Rat King.
Right.
What's he pulling on your team?
I mean, I want to say he's a leader, but I think this isn't a fair equal opportunity where there's no real one leader. If there's one leader, it's me because it's my crew. But Rakdos is just kind of Rakdos is the body, right? But Rakdos is the body of the group.
But not the mind.
No,
No.
all body, no mind.
No, I respect that pick. I think we've talked about this before. So I was there when they announced Thunder Junction. Like I was in the audience when they had that reveal last year. And the two that got the most, I'll say the three that got the most hype in the room. One was Rakdos. One was obviously Oko because you see like Oko kind of hovering over all of them.
Uh-huh.
And then the third one was Tiny Bones.
That makes
And
sense.
I heard a very audible fight break out over whether it was Tiny Bones or Fibblefip.
Oh right, yeah, because it was the silhouette. I think a
Yeah,
large part of that too was who was the most clearly made out in the silhouette. It's like, oh yeah, that's Rakdos. That cannot be any other person.
Yeah, because that one Rakdos was very obvious, and then the other one everyone was like, oh, it's Vraska and Jace because they like mirrored each other to make a heart out of their arms and stuff.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of Fibblethip hate online in the meme communities for being lost yet again.
Oh, so we were actually speaking of being at locations when things were revealed. Now it feels like we're trying to just one up each other in this, but I was at MagicCon Chicago when they revealed the Fibblethip card, and I've never heard an audience light up just as much as they did in that audience when they showed that silly little homunculus with a cowboy hat on. The entire room erupted. So I think Fibblethip has a lot of fans and might see themselves on this list later. I'm not too sure.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess moving things along, my pack one, pick one to round out round one. This was the first thing I thought of, and before spoilers, what every crew needs is they need the crazy prospector running around just hucking sticks of dynamite. So I'm going Vile Smasher, aka Ankle Shanker, aka the Fierce.
Wait, Angle Shanker is Vile Smasher?
From an alternate timeline, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I did not know that. That's fun. Good pick.
See, you learn, you pick and you learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, I saw that before they released the card, and I was like, Vile Smasher. I don't know where you're at in the storyline, if you're alive, dead, or whatever, but you seem like just a natural should be there with Stick of Dynamite.
Oh, how else are you going to blow down the bank doors?
See, and that's how I plan my crew. If it's an Ocean 11's 19 or 1880s version, that's what I needed.
I actually read a statistic that not very much dynamite was used in the plundering of bank vaults. In the back in the days, of cowboy era, but it's kind of a common misconception. There's a lot of like cowboy media, involves
Well,
explosives.
you don't want to destroy the loot.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. Yeah. That very flammable money that they have in there. All right. So I guess that moves into round 2. So I'll be leading off round 2. So I got to be a little strategic here because I'm going to go a good 4 picks before I get to see another one of my characters pop up.
Very true.
So I had 3. I had like 3 that were my locked in, like, hey, 1, 2, 3. So it's Vial Smasher, Jolene, and then I think I'm just gonna have to go with this one to kind of hedge my bets a little bit. So I'm gonna add my muscle to the crew, and that's gonna be Magic's favorite hog rider, Domri Raid.
Wow.
Good pick. Good pick.
Solely because they're in a cowboy hat riding a pig on a secret lair.
I did not know that. That makes sense. Y'all are really coming at this with like a logic sense, and as I get into my list, it's just going to divulge into a ragtag group. But yeah, Domri's a good pick. I did think of them because I was kind of combing through I was combing through Legends and I was combing through Planeswalkers as well, just to make sure like one didn't slip my mind. And Domri was different. It was definitely on that list. So I see a color theme going on here with a lot of green and red.
When you talk logic, there was actually a couple where I was looking at like Emrakul and Ulamog, where as soon as they came across, I was like, I don't know if this is a heist or this is just like a terrorist attack. Like this is just a complete destruction of the whole town.
Are you heisting the multiverse? Because then if that case, I think that works.
The best answer to this question is, it's the Dragon and then 4 of any Elder Dragons of your choice. For the delicacy of an outlaw operation, you need somebody on the ground. You need feet on the ground for that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ken, I guess that swings it back to you. So your second pick to round out a little action behind Rakdos.
Yeah, pick number 2. It keeps looking like I'm distracted, and I've just been staring at my list trying to think, okay, what do I want to go as number 2? As far as, I think I have it. My number 2, speaking of Elder Dragons, it's fitting. Because my number 2 pick is Slimefoot, the fungus.
Ooh.
That was on my list too. That was like one of my backup bench choices, but that's there.
Yep, Slimefoot, another person. When I say Rakdos might be my favorite character, it's because Rakdos is in competition with Slimefoot, and maybe a couple others that we may or may not talk about tonight. We will see. But who does not want just a giant mushroom fungus person in your group, right? Like that's just good vibes.
Right.
Not to mention that's some bulk you have there. Like if somebody's trying to, roust up in your saloon, I mean you got 2 huge bouncers there to chuck them out the door.
That is exactly the role they will fit. Well, you never want to mess with the shroom.
And not to mention the morale boost, because I've heard he's a pretty fun guy.
Oh.
Good, yeah. That's great.
And this is where Cole comes in and he snipes Squee just so he can break up the pairing.
I thought about that. I was like, wait.
He's so expendable.
Right. I was like, wait, do they come as a pair? But I don't think they come as a pair. Because Slimefoot was doing Slimefoot things long before Squee came around. That's not true. Squee might have came first. It doesn't matter. Lore-wise.
So if you have Squee, I mean, is he like... I know you said he's expendable, Cole, but... if he wipes, like, he kicks the bucket in a gunfight, does he come back? Just like you shoot him, blast him through like the saloon doors, and then he comes striding out like nothing ever happened.
It depends if we're following lore or not.
Lore mechanics.
Yeah, but that's Squee. Well, we might talk about Squee later. We'll see. But Slimefoot, in case you didn't know, a little history lesson, was a original member of the Weatherlight crew because Slimefoot was just growing in the Weatherlight. So they were like, all right, do you want to hang out with us? And Slimefoot was like, yeah, sure. And that was how he became.
That's the best lore.
So that was my number 2 pick. And now I guess, Cole, come break our hearts and steal another favorite.
Oh, I don't know if you have to worry about that with this one. This is the second half of the leadership of my gang. This is kind of a
Wait,
meme pick, but I did a little bit of googling and just found that, like, back in the day, some of these old school legends, although the cards are just downright awful, they have amazing lore. And so I'm actually super excited about this. Get your Googlers out and type in Joven or Hoven, if you will.
oh
This
God,
is a red rogue,
it's
or
just that guy, right?
he's a guy. He's often memed on as being one of the hottest cards in
Like,
Magic, but he's a good dude. He's got some mascara. He's best friends with another card called Chandler, which is a very funny looking card as well. But his
I
lore
thought
is
Monica was best friends with Chandler.
he's a master thief and an excellent cat burglar, and he can talk his way out of any situation. He has a reputation of fear amongst merchants and respect amongst other local rogues and thieves of the homelands. He's been very careful not to steal or offend anybody who has the money or resources to catch him. So he's like smart, he's kind of the brains of this operation. And then he also has a card that's relevant in Magic. It is a card, but it's more so lore interesting. He's helped in his theft by well-trained ferrets. Joven's Ferrets is a card in Magic that is awesome. And they're skilled at climbing buildings and providing distractions. And so this is going to be kind of my like safe cracker. Like he's getting in behind the doors and stealing things in a less brazen way, using ferrets, using tools. He has a rope, he has picks, that sort of thing. It's Joven.
I most certainly went to school with a guy who looks like this now. So
Is he in a metal band or?
honestly, I mean, yeah, just add the eye makeup and you're there. But yeah, upon Google, it seems one of the first images is somebody put together their own March of the Machine style team up card, and it's Joven and Chandler.
I've seen that. It's actually a ton of like these, the playtest cards, and there's one of them that's a Joven and Chandler. It has kind of a combined version of their effect, but it's pretty funny.
Good
And
pick.
the
Is that gonna be your
collective.
follow-up pick, Chandler?
No, that's really my last of those picks. But to follow up, I would like to say that with Jolene and Joven, my gang's name is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
That's a good name. That's smart. I like that. Good job.
Hats off. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
You get to go again now, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
you picking up. So round
that's so
3, so we
exciting.
have 2 picks. Cole, I want you to know you did not pick anyone off my board with that last pick.
I'm surprised. Well,
Yeah, me too.
I'll tell you, Cory, that you actually got me with Vile Smasher on there. I had kind of anticipated I wasn't going to be able to get Vile Smasher, so I swapped this preemptively. But I do want to get this out of the way before it gets stolen, if possible. But this is the Shattergang brothers. Depending on where you take them from the timeline, you're getting 1, 2, or 3 brothers: Gardigig, Rickig, and then Dargig. But both Rickig and Dargig are dead, so this is just Gardigig on my gang, Gardigang, if you will. And really, this is more of a word of mouth hire. There's not too many documented instances of the damages that they've done, just because they're pretty good at covering up their crimes. But they've been hired by Rakdos, which should kind of vet them to you, Ken. I think obviously now that it's just the one goblin, like he kind of has more to prove. So he's a scrapper. I'm taking a risk, but I trust that the reputation's earned, and he's, I think, a good demolitions expert substitute for Vile Smasher.
And I think, honestly, I mean, he's the most perseverant of the 3. So, I mean, I think you picked the right one of 3. If that's the only one left,
Now,
probably for a reason.
Is he the one that destroys the artifact, the enchantment, or the creature?
I think you're putting him in a box by saying that he can only destroy one. But I think lore-wise, he is the one that destroys creatures.
Is this like selecting Beantown Bullies and you go, no, but I just want the middle one?
Well, I'll take more, but I don't want it to be like I get negative points for going over because I have 2 additional Shattergang brothers on my list. So
Like
lore wise, I'm in the
next,
clear.
your next pick will be like B.O.B. Billions of Beebles or whatever that Unfinity Planeswalker is. Like I just win by sheer quantity.
No.
All right. Is it me again? Do I get to go?
All right, kid. You're halfway through. This should be shaping up right now.
So thankfully none of mine have been stolen. So we talked a lot about I got the muscles, I got the strength, I got the kind of brute force of it all. But for every group of strong bodies, you have to have a really cunning mind. So my third pick is actually going to be Amanatu.
Ooh.
The Planeswalker. I have their little lore up here because I find it very funny. So I'm just going to read it out. Like all 8-year-olds, Amanatu is playful and fickle. Her destiny is something she toys with daily. Some days she'll grow up to be a singer, other days a powerful wizard. Some days a trainer of beautiful beasts, and other days conquering queen. She's young, but because her powers possess the knowledge of a lifetime, the most striking feature of Amanatu is her calm demeanor. Her magic is expressed through intangible moths. When one of her wisps of power land on a person, it nudges their fate in whatever direction Amanatu chooses. Amanatu has access to white, blue, and black. Yeah, that's just a color. So that's my third pick.
That's awesome. It's awful that you'd bring a child into a life of crime like that.
She's used to it. She's been through. She's toying with fates. She knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, she foresaw this.
If anything, this was all her doing for us to do this stream tonight. So,
and she's like, I'm not really a first pick material. I'll make Ken wait till the 3rd round. That feels about right. You have okay. I gotta say, looking at this, you have a very interesting lineup going on, Ken. It's a little girl and her 2 beefy bodyguards.
Just wait; it'll get weirder.
Are you also tracking this? I have a notes page going with all of our commands. I'm keeping an eye out in case anybody.
I've got a little running tab too, just to make it interesting.
Before I pass it off, I should say I do have a little bit of bias towards Amanatu. I had an Amanatu deck, and it was just magnificent and fun, and has become a character that I very much have enjoyed. And to this day, I'm still annoyed that Double Masters 2022 did not give a new art of the Amanatu card, because they gave a new art in the packaging, but the card was just the same art. But then we got like the chibi Planeswalkers like 6 months later, so I'm fine with that. But that's my little
maybe she'll be back in Modern Horizons 3.
I mean, maybe.
Put your specs in now. Buy copies of
or wait for it. Bloomborough. If you see a big moth or butterfly.
Oh, that'd be fun. Love to see that.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Vial Smasher, a nice little explosives expert. We've got a little muscle with Domri Raid. I'm worried you guys are going to start beefing me out though, because Cole's got Jolene, which is some muscle. Cole's got Joven, who's just a whole scene.
He's more nimble than he would look in his art, but he is a wall of muscle.
Listen, he's just a whole piece of art. It's an attitude on an art card is what that is. Okay. I think I go and add a little more beef to the crew. I'm gonna go with Becca, the Brute Chronologist.
Ooh,
nice.
Good pick. Also in this set, which is exciting.
Have they actually spoilered that card yet? I know the art's out there.
No. Yes. No, I don't think they.
As of us recording, this uploads on Friday. I'm sure somebody's listening to this like, yeah, it got revealed an hour ago.
I'm confirming. I don't believe it has been yet.
I did see some speculation that I thought was interesting, which would be,
it's out.
Instead of like the tap to in turn, there was going to be like a tap to give a spell split second.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. It's called Obika Splitter of Seconds.
Is that what it actually does?
No, it's not out yet, but just the name is revealed.
Apparently, the way Obeka stops time is by punching really hard that it shatters time. That's actually how it works. I learned that a few
See,
days
that's
ago.
what I'm talking about. That's muscle right there. All pure muscle.
Okay.
I would hate
Okay.
to see Obeka versus Jolene the Plunder Queen fight because nobody's
Just
coming out of
duking it
that
out.
one.
All right, so 2 more picks. So I gotta think here because otherwise I don't have anything till the very last pick,
Right.
Right.
which might be too late. So I've got some interesting options here. So Slimefoot was swiped, but I do have a Slimefoot backup on my list, which would be Namada. So I could go Namada because she already has like a little cowboy hat, sombrero action like pre-set up.
That's true.
I also am trying to give some consideration to the Reaper King right here, just from a thematic standpoint.
Well, and for the
Interesting.
record, he is an outlaw because isn't he a changeling? Or I guess that people put a lot of changelings in a Reaper King deck, but never mind.
Well,
Scratch
he's just a
Scarecrow.
scarecrow,
Yeah.
but everybody, like all the other ones, are usually changelings because there's not a lot of scarecrows that do much.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm gonna go for a little bit of an out of the box pick. I've got some that could fit different needs here, but I'm gonna go for one that I don't think is on either of your selected lists. Every good crew needs a good getaway driver. So I'm gonna go with Kotori, the pilot commander from the Shurikai deck.
Interesting.
He's a little stagecoach, slash train, slash horse, slash really whatever I need him to hop into so she can get us out of here.
Good pick. I mean, I believe it was Katori's deck and Shurikai was the backup commander, but Shurikai has kind of taken
Correct.
over that as the standout card from that deck. So I'm glad you shone some light on an underrepresented and underappreciated character.
Like lore-wise,
Yeah, 'cause
she's bonded with Shurikai, and they refer to themselves as Kotori Shurikai.
Oh, so you get it's like a buy one get one.
kind of.
Yeah, so it's actually my ploy because the 5th pick will be Shurikai just busting open the banks. I don't have to be stealthy if Shurikai just blasts them open. All right, Ken, you got 2 more picks on board here. What are we going with in round 4?
All right, back to me already. Round 4. This one hasn't been picked. It's kind of in flavor with Joven. We're gonna go back in time a little bit,
Okay.
and I'm
With
going
Arcades.
I'm going with Zyra Aaron.
Wow.
The fancy, demure, proper assassin bee. That's it. Assassin bee.
I like that it's back in time, though there is a newer.
There is a newer one, but I'm sure she has a lot of good lore.
I have her page up here, and it does break into continuity errors, so we're just gonna avoid that, I think. But
oh, interesting.
yeah, she was. I mean, this actually. Hold on. This article more goes about where her.
Oh wow, she's
Okay,
originally shown as a human, not a Eumidian, which is like the bug form.
Yeah, and apparently she was ordered by Nicobolas to assassinate the leader of the rebellion, Lady Caleria. Oh, hope nobody picked her.
No.
But yeah, so again, I kind of wanted to cover all areas here. We've got the brains, we've got the bronze, but we also need the the sneaky and the sly, and
Right.
and the get you before you notice. And I mean, look at her hats. That's what does Zyra bring to this?
That's a
brings
Southern
hats.
Belle. If you've ever seen a Southern Belle, there it is.
Right. The Zyra, the Golden Sting art could be straight from Thunder Junction with the fancy outfit. So another
it's-
personal pet card. If you can't tell, so far every card I've picked has been a character I've connected with enough to try and build or has built around. So
Which is why you've recruited them.
Exactly. So that's my number 4 pick, and I'm happy with that.
Well, it says here on her lore that she's also known as the Glass Mountain. I think that's also kind of relevant because another cowboy song, the "She'll be coming around the mountain when she comes," like you can probably get some mileage out of that one.
But you gotta add in the word glass when you sing it, Cole. So we come around the glass mountain.
It just doesn't fit into the rhyme scheme, so we'll add that to the list of things to workshop.
All right. Does this mean Oh no, Cole has number 4.
I have
so we're still on
4,
number
and then
4.
I'll also have number 5. So this will round
Yes.
out my crew. And Cory, I mean, it's crazy that you said Kotori because my getaway driver was Shorikai. So unless it is your
Game
fit,
over now.
I don't want to steal it from you if you need it. But I figured what's better than a getaway driver than like a getaway driver that can also break into your
Be a
bank
car.
and it's a car. It's also a dude. So it's helping you lug the stuff out to its own trunk. Like it just seems like a pretty good deal. And I think it can fit my whole gang. It's pretty large and in charge.
So that's why you're going with Optimus Prime, or are we going Slicer?
No, I'm staying Universe Within. You will have to make that painful choice yourself. But that's why I had Shorikai's lore pulled up because he's a core member of my gang, the engine, the epic engine.
In Thunder Junction, do you think Shurikai is really just like a locomotive?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be really cool. That would be a sweet rendition of him as a big train.
Well, y'all really are after each other at this with your picks.
I guess it just goes to show that the two minds, think alike.
So I think as we get into the round 5, if we want, or maybe should we wait as we do our last pick to start kind of listing off a couple of our honorable mentions, or should we get through the full list and then we can kind of take turns going through our honorable mentions? That way we don't accidentally spoil someone's last pick.
Oh,
like right now you start giving your honorable mentions, but you haven't even picked yet.
I don't think it
select.
spoils. I think it's interesting you could be like, oh, these are honorable mentions, and then it's like, oh wow, well this was my choice. So then you have kind of a conversation about it. Nobody will know until the grand reveal.
That's true.
Do you guys want to do a round
number 5
of honorable mentions? We'll just
that we know for sure we're not going to pick.
Oh, I guess that's true because if something gets stolen, no, that's a fair point. All right, I'm just gonna get into it then. My 5th gang member of my crew is like everybody needs a gunslinger, and I looked, for legendary creatures that also had guns in their art via Scryfall and the art tagger. And there were not very many. I was shocked to see that. Well, there's tons, but they're all Universe Beyond. They're from Fallout. They're from Warhammer. They're from every if then or other one. And there's tons of cards that have guns, but there's just not a lot of legendary creatures. And you can confirm that. I'll send the link with the string that you need to type to search for that specifically. But what I did find was one uncard that's going to be my gunslinger, my hero, my steamy Alexander Clamilton. Yeah, buddy. He doesn't have a lot about him. He's a clam folk, of which there are very few other creatures within that same type. But I think he has the kind of the wherewithal to not. He's not trigger happy. He's based off of Alexander Hamilton, who was a duelist. So he's got the aim, but he's also got like 2 onlooking elderly clamfolk figures watching on in the background that clearly respect him. So I think he would make a good addition to the gang for both kind of the being able to interface with other people in this desert hellscape, as well as being a quick shot.
How do you think his mollusk form is going to handle being out in the desert hellscape, if you put it?
You know what? I think we're going to be eating steamed clams tonight, boys. It's a Utica expression. Steamed hams.
So I'll put it out here now. So we talked a little bit before we hit record about the unset cards, and I said, okay, I'm going to write 2 down that bounced around my brain. That I was like, this is going to be what Cole picked. Now, I know we just said we'll do honorable mention at the end, but I don't think I'm going to pick these, and I highly doubt Ken will pick them.
Right.
So the two I thought of were the Surgeon General, like that's that one that puts like 2 halves of creatures together.
Okay.
In one of the
yeah.
And Count Von Count.
Okay.
Okay.
my sort of thought about it for a minute, but I didn't go with was going to be Comet Stellar Pup because come on, it's a space dog.
Cute.
But I
So
ended up going a different route.
before I went Kotori, I bounced around that same set. What is his name? Captain Rex Nebula as my getaway driver because he crash
I
lands
don't
everything.
know if you'd want him as a getaway driver.
All right, Ken, you are officially on the clock. Ba-na-na-na, na-na-na-na.
Yeah, this is hard because my 5th and 6th are so close together, and part of me feels like one's a little more predictable than the other.
Mhm.
So I think I need to go with my heart here. And it's ironic you talk about clams with Alexander Clamilton because my last pick is actually known for cooking things like clams, and
You want
I am
Guillaume?
choosing Rocco Street Chef from New
Wow.
Japan.
The one after
Every
your heart.
group needs its own culinary genius, and in this case, it's Rocco. A little bit about Rocco is Rocco was the caterer for the cabarets. Also, fun fact, Rocco is non-binary and goes by they them. So respect that, people. Kidding.
Wow.
Sometimes I forget, but
I
that's
know
a fun
that,
little
actually.
fact. Yeah, I mean, again, I have Rocco deck, so these characters clearly speak to me one way or another. But I mean, how fun! Like you have a group, and then you get well fed every night. Like there's no better mob squad out in the Wild West than a well fed squad. So that was my 5th pick. I'll talk about my honorable mention once Corey goes, just for the sake of safety. But it was a tough
Sure.
pick. But my number 5 will be Rocco.
I didn't think of Rocco, but I definitely considered Guillaume at one point because I was like, he seems like he would be cooking a plate of beans by the fire, but also could bring a little of muscle to the crew.
Right. Guillaume also a food commander, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. So to close it out, what am I missing here? So I don't have a clear, cohesive leader, but I don't have my gunslinger yet, which, as Cole pointed out, is a core member of the crew.
Right.
And since we're sticking with universes within, I can't go with the obvious Gearson Starn Keller morph. His
Right.
3 arms, 3 guns.
You can
so
if you need to.
No. So I actually went with a different interpretation of the gunslinger archetype.
Oh, I think I know what it is. Maybe.
So instead of guns, I'm going for Killian Ink Duelist.
Oh, never
Little
mind.
spell slinger.
Little spell slinger, little rapid fire ink that he can sling at people.
Kellyan is a cool
Killian, yeah.
character. I thought you were gonna say Torwalkie because like.
Oh yeah.
That's way more out of the box. I enjoy that much more.
All right, so there we have it. That's our crew. I will say I got 3 of my top 5 picks. One got sniped, and one I just decided last minute to kind of leave on the board.
Oh, who was that?
That was going to be my potential leader, the Admiral Beckett Brass.
Wow.
Oh,
Has a lot of experience commanding like a rough and tumble group.
You could
She
say you
is
left her to be
unsinkable.
cast away.
She can't be cast away. She's unsinkable, Ken.
Well, you can still be floating on top and not sink.
She's out looking for the One Piece.
That's wow. You really dropped your leader. That's interesting. Why? What was the reasoning that you decided to change last minute?
So going into the last pick, I had 3 kind of on my semi radar, depending on which direction I wanted to go.
Right.
Beckett Brass would have been there as the leader sort. I had Killian, and then I also was contemplating Errant, street artist from New Capenna, as sort of that rogue option. Also, kind of has a gun. It's really more of like a spray paint can thing.
I'll tell
but
you,
it's in a gun-like
it comes up
shape.
in the Scryfall art link for gun. I did look at it. It crossed my mind, but I ended up opting elsewhere, clam wise.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Alexander Clamilton is holding a water gun, so you know.
Yeah, it's obviously a squirt gun.
Well, it's only a water gun when you fill it with water. When you fill it with, acid
Sand.
or snow, sand, I don't know if that works.
I was thinking would be an interesting twist for Alexander Clamilton though, is if he spits his own pearls into a gun and then launches those at people.
Okay, now we're
All
talking.
right.
See, they
Yeah.
should put me on the lore team because I've got it on lock. Obscure, unnecessary tidbits.
All right. That was a good. Can I share my honorable mention?
Yeah,
slash
let's do it. Let's
mention?
get some honorable mentions. I think those are going to be very enlightening.
Right. So I really, really wanted. It was between this and Rocco for my fifth pick, but every good mystery gang has their Scooby Doo.
Mm.
So I really wanted to pick Questing Beast as the
Mm.
token beast of the group.
Uh-huh.
But I ended up going with Rocco because I have a little more allegiance and a little more history with Rocco. But Questing Beast was a very close. I thought could be kind of a fun out of left field because 3 heads are better than 1. And a couple others I had on my list I didn't end up picking was Tago, Goblin Weaponsmith,
Sure.
who just throws
Make
rocks because
rocks. Yeah.
it could be my gunslinger is just throwing rocks. I had Obnixilis as an option, but I feel like probably 1 demon is enough. I don't need to get biased and have all demons. And the last one I had on my list here was going to be Gix, just for classic evil. But I ended up going with a more unique group of characters.
I thought you had an awesome gang, and Gix would have been cool. I contemplated Yawgmoth because in a similar vein, just like so downright evil. But then they that's gonna kind of, I think, cloud over the gang, and I don't want to have that bad energy when I'm supposed to be having fun robbing trains of their 16 G's of
loot.
gold. Yeah.
Right. Like Rakdos is evil, but Rakdos is like camp evil, and that's fun.
Right.
Gix is edgy evil, and that's less fun. So those were kind of my reasonings. But Cole, what just missed the list for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I had I was working on a little art piece of Rurkthar wearing 2 cowboy hats. I kind of thought he'd be a fun, addition to, he's intimidating, he's muscular, he's, he's also a wise dude. He like worked with Jace and was doing some maze running. I think he would have been 2 heads for the price of 1. I almost picked him. I almost picked Garruk for a similar reason of just the sheer 8 feet 2 inches, 480 pounds of muscle. Like this guy is a beast, and I think he'd be a valuable addition to any team. And then I have Thada Adele, the Acquisitor, which is a merfolk. She doesn't have too many interactions, but she is fated to have like a interaction with Noan Dar, the Royal Shaper. But she is an Acquisitor, and Acquisitor that is defined by a person who has a tendency to acquire. And so I want her to be. She's kind of my guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who can get things. And so not only am I getting tips, I'm getting information or ideas from Thada Adele. I'm also getting tools and keys and things like that made. I also I use her in a lot of commander decks, so I have a soft spot for her. But if you don't, her ability allows you to deal or steal something from an opponent when you deal combat damage, but it's an artifact out of their deck, and then you have to cast it. So like typically you're stealing people's soul rings, and it's just a good. That's the biggest heist every game is trying to acquire everybody's soul ring.
Right. I found it very interesting. So 2 things I wanted to kind of touch on. The first being, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we only had 2 planeswalkers out of the list, right? We had Amanatu and Domri. Did we have?
Yeah, Amanatu and Domri.
And I did no planeswalkers. I almost did Garruk, but
is this a an omen of what Magic and Wizards is doing, switching towards legendary creatures? Have we gotten to a point in the Magic fandom that we are now looking at the legends as kind of our flagship heroes and less so the planeswalkers? Because for a while it was the planeswalkers were the ones that were really the the center point, but it feels like we've kind of expanded and moved past the planeswalkers to an extent.
I think the lines blur a lot because people have really strong emotional connections to cards, or if I play, like, I almost put Galta on this list because I'm like, oh, big dinosaur, that's cool, and it's it's a strong, it's one of my favorite commanders. So I think the creatures are just as cool as planeswalkers, but if you think about it, we are planeswalkers. So I like real recognize real. Everybody knows planeswalkers are cool. I think you got to give the shine to the little guys.
Right. And the second thing I thought, so now breaking down, and I know my answer, and maybe y'all can answer this as well. Now that we have our crew of 5, what does your color pie look like? Are you 5 color? Are you 4? Are you missing a color from your group? I know for me, I managed to strike all 5 colors. I think if we were to break down the biases, is I'm predominantly black, and then second is red and green, followed by white, and then I have a little bit of blue left over, and the blue was from Amanatu.
Mine, I do hit Wooburg, basically through the Shattergang brothers, Shorkai, and my Joven, my Hoven, however you want to pronounce that. But I'm primarily blue and red.
Interesting.
Yeah, I also hit Wooburg. It looks like I lean more red with black. A little Rakdos, not necessarily all together. I think Vile Smasher's the only one that's actually Rakdos, but
No,
everything else
I
seems to
have
be like no, I have Rakdos.
Yeah, for me, interesting enough, 4 to 5 of my picks had black in their mana. Rocco was the only one that didn't. And then 3 of mine had green and 3 of them had red. This is very analytical, but it's the stuff that interests me.
This is like a projection of the darkness in your heart, right?
I mean, I always lean towards black. All my favorite color pairings are black with whatever color. So Golgari, Rakdos, Dimir, and Orzhov are probably my 4 favorites. So you know what? It doesn't surprise me that I find myself leaning a little towards the swampy side.
Yeah, no, I think it was interesting. There were definitely some picks that I would not have seen coming. Like, I think looking back at it, like Jolene, Rakdos, Slimefoot, even the Shattergang brothers, those are ones I'd all considered. I probably could have gone through 1,000 characters before I hit Joven, to be honest with you.
I don't know, man. I did a little lore dive, and some of these oldies are really cool.
But I want you to know, so when you started talking about the lore of Joven and his ferret helpers, I wrote down in the corner of my notes, Minsk and Boo, question mark?
Ooh.
Just in case that came up for me.
That's not a bad one.
It is a Wizards IP, or not Wizards. It is a Wizards IP.
Yeah. It also comes with my favorite flavor text, which is
eyes,
go for the eyes, Boo.
Oh, that would have been a good pick. I think it counts. It's close enough in proximity that I'd allow it.
Yeah. Let's see. As far as me for honorable mentions, I talked about most of them when I was drafting. So I had Beckett Brass, Errant, Namada. I did have Squee actually written down. It literally, my list went Namada, Squee, Slimefoot as far as options. Reaper King. I had my own demon option, which was Raphael.
Ooh, good. Also Baldur's Gate.
Uh-huh.
Since your theme.
Marika, which is the in-universe version of, is it Zangief?
Zangief, yeah.
Yeah. And I also put Ramiro de Pietro in case I couldn't get back at Brass, who I ended up leaving behind anyways. But then I couldn't decide if it was going to be Ramiro the man or Ramiro the ghost. Like, which one would actually fall onto the team?
Right. I mean, you could honestly get both. It depends. It might be gruesome, but you can go from one to the other.
So if you want to go gruesome, I had this realization with the Ixalan pirate deck that came out, because it has Ramiro de Pietro, the person, and it has the ghost of. They both have partner, so you could have a mono blue partners deck with both him and his ghost.
Uh-huh.
Would it be any good? I doubt it, but it exists canonically.
It's fun that you can make that happen.
Yeah, and you could call it like the mortality of man or something like that. Give it like a very, welcome to the shackles of Earth kind of name. All right. So there you guys have it. I guess everyone can debate in the comments why I won the draft, because that's a known fact.
If you think Cory won, I
just
just
not
urge you
just
to Google
kidding.
Joven and then reconsider.
I'm just happy
if-
to participate.
If you're Googling Joven, also Google Yokel Hops. No particular reason. It's just a fun sounding card name that is a real card name from back in the day. But that, I guess, brings us to question of the week and card of the week. So we have an ongoing theme, which is every time Ken is on, we have his co-host Ashley ask a question. Every time Ashley is on, we have Ken ask her a question. So Ashley, well, let's look at it like this. So when Ashley was on last for International Women's Day, Ken asked her a very specific and detail-oriented question that asked her to discuss the role that she played in the community as far as promoting diversity, promoting womanhood, and providing specific examples of how she was doing so. So in retaliation, Ashley has decided to ask her own question, except it's much shorter. Hey Ken, who's your favorite outlaw and why is it Fibblefip? It doesn't say hey Ken, I'm just adding that in.
My favorite outlaw is Fibblethip. And the reason my favorite outlaw is Fibblethip is because he's just a little guy. Look at him. He's just one-eyed, always getting in places where he's not supposed to be. Just there for a fun time. And like, look at that hat. And he's on a farm. And you can't be mad at that. Come on. Yay, Fibblethip. 10 out of 10. That's my answer.
I agree with that. The new art where he's got the cowboy hat, it's like, this is an improvement. He was cute before, but now he's got a hat, and he looks more confused.
Ashley's already underway building that deck, so catch it on a good Clean Commander stream coming to a computer phone screen near you.
Now, my only concern is, Fibblefip gets like a pass for being a very innocent, goody kind of character that's innocent, lost, looking to find his way in the big city. But if you read the new card, he's plotting something. It actually says on there that he starts plotting. So he's really a suspicious menace.
But it could be something else.
No, it's his suspicious nature.
Planting the seeds of evil.
And carrots.
All right, Cole, what about you? Your favorite outlaw and is Fibblefip? There's not even a deviation at this point. We've both doubled down on Fibblefip, so you must triple lock it.
Well, if I'm forced to triple lock it onto Fibblethip, I will. But if there's not a gun to my head, I do think the new Gonti is pretty fun. Sultai Gonti. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's got some fun mechanics to it, and I'm a huge Gonti, fan of the OG. It's brought some terror to the play group in the past. So
not big enough of a fan to have drafted him, but I'm sure he was your sixth choice, right? Gonti, Lord of Luxury.
Ooh, burn! Don't tell him I said that.
He's the face of one of the precons, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, there you go. Gonti coming to a LGS near you. All right, but hey, thank you, Ashley, for continuing our vicious trend of questioning the whereabouts and weaknesses of your co-host. But that brings us to card of the week. Now, last week we did a brew of the week, which we might bring back. This week we decided to opt back to card of the week just due to some time crunches. So if you got a preference on if you like card of the week, brew of the week, anything like that, you can let us know in the comments, or you can shoot us suggestions for brews of the week. We did get a couple, which we might bring back next week if Cole decides to fire up that Moxfield account.
It'll be there.
But this week's card of the week, straight from the Outlaws of Thunder Junction, we have the Holy Cow.
Ooh.
I have a fun fact about that card.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm dropping my Smoliv. Sorry.
Your Smoliv, the Pokemon? Oh, it is a Smoliv. Okay. This is great for
hold
the audio
on.
listeners.
I want to get the first and last name right to give
Okay. While you
proper
pull that
shout
up,
out.
Holy Cow is 2 and a white for a 2/2 Ox Angel. Comes with flash flying, and when Holy Cow enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life and you scry 1.
You got to read the
And it
flavor
also,
text.
yeah, it comes with my favorite flavor text, second only to Go for the Eyes Boo. And the flavor text is, after it passed by, the rancher swore he saw hope shining in the pig's eyes.
It's cute.
So my fun fact is actually about the flavor text.
Okay.
And there we go. I got it. Okay. So do you know by chance of there's this old podcast called The Commander Sphere? It was co-hosted by a well-known Rachel Weeks and a
Never heard of her.
Dan Sheehan.
Okay.
Have you ever heard? No,
Never
you haven't
heard
heard?
of her.
Okay. So
Who's Rachel Weeks?
yeah. Prior to going on to the Command Zone and becoming a main host there, she was a part of a Command Sphere podcast with a gentleman named Dan Sheehan, who's like a great content creator, still puts out stuff. He has a new podcast and it's called Pie Break, and it kind of talks about,
Mhm.
you know, the color pie. Great content, great person. But the fun fact is that he actually wrote the flavor text for Holy Cow.
Aw.
Oh, okay.
That was a little fun tidbit I learned. Josh, my partner, has been listening to him for a while now, and was very excited to find that out. So I thought that was a fun little. It's fun when Magic kind of reaches to the community to help create flavor and atmosphere to their games. So yes,
Mhm.
you can thank Dan Sheehan for that. That rules or not rules text, that flavor text.
Well, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's a great. Yeah, that's a podcast too where I've only listened to a couple episodes, admittedly, of was it Pie Break or Color Pie Break, and it's interesting because the topic matter and the way he kind of discusses everything, because you see all these weird cards that you don't necessarily encounter, and you go, oh, this is the only flying thing in green, or this is the only, like, back in the 90s when they didn't care so much about the color pie, had this odd take to it.
Yeah.
And of
He's
course,
like,
you know, his
cool
co-host,
content.
that unknown Rachel Weeks, who we'll never heard of and we'll never hear of again.
Right. What's she up to now? Everything.
But I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. So Ken, thank you for being on. Where can they find you at if people want to reach out to you?
I mean, you can call me. I'm currently in my house, if you know what that is. You can find me there.
You're in the studio.
Otherwise,
In the studio.
sorry, I'm in the studio. Otherwise, yeah. So, like I said early on, you can find me on the YouTube channel MTG, spelled EMPTYG. I'm on Twitter as KenEDH. I think it's the KenEDH, but if you look up KenEDH, I should appear. I'm also on TikTok, while it lasts, while it's still here, and that is also under the KenEDH. I haven't posted there recently since I went to MagicCon, but I will have some things lined up here. I do little mini deck techs, so yeah, lots of stuff happening. I feel like I'm everywhere all the time now, and I'm grateful for that. So if you see me out in the internet, say hi.
So I will say I had this weird experience like 2 nights ago. I was skimming through TikTok. When you're in Magic TikTok, it gets samey, I want to say, after a while. Like, it's a lot of, oh, look, another cool combo somebody pulled off, and it's like 5 seconds of their arena gameplay footage. But I was flipping, and I started watching this video talking about like a deck being built.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, there's an interesting way that it's being like put together and describing it, and these like the cards that could go into it if you want stuff for ramp and stuff for removal. And I watched halfway in, like, this guy sounds very familiar, and then I go, oh, it's Ken.
Oh, you stumbled upon my Ken's 10 series, where I give you 10 cards for a commander deck I own, and I categorize them by topics like my favorite ramp card, my favorite removal piece, my favorite win con. Yeah. Well, I'm glad
Yeah.
that you stumbled upon that content.
Yeah, I
That's
got
awesome.
halfway through and I was like, there's something about this guy that just seems so likable. I don't know if I've seen him somewhere. Who is this guy?
I mean, having my like character sprite that is everywhere now, I feel like being on the screen. If that didn't give it away, then I'm glad my voice was
Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in Ken or Ashley, who remarked on the question of the week, you can find them at MTG EMPTY because they can G.
Yes.
Every other, I believe next Friday, I guess, by your pattern. So this uploads on Friday, and then the following Friday should be the next episode of Good Clean Commander live.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't
So
know
the
who we're
people could
having on
respond to
there.
on Twitch.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know
either.
who the guests are going to be. I think it's just going to be the two of us. We have no guests that week.
That sounds
No,
like normal.
we have some familiar voices that will be
Rachel
attending
Weeks.
on that episode. Can you imagine? No, we will be having none other than the UrCast on for a Friday night game of good, clean fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so you can catch mostly Ken. I'll also be there. Somewhere flitting back and forth between the comments and actual gameplay. So I'll be at the two. You can find Cole, by the way, at loveandmana.mtg. He is not on TikTok, I don't believe, but he's all over Instagram, splaying it as he splays it.
Yeah, I think I actually have a TikTok, just have not uploaded any videos yet. It's a rock I have not yet lifted up and seen all the things scurry out from underneath. So primarily on Instagram, but like we said, catch us next week on Good Clean Commander with Ken and Ashley.
You got to get to TikTok before the politicians get a hold of it. You can find me at Sleevecard, or you can reach out to the podcast directly at UrCastPod or contact.urcast@gmail.com. You can submit your deck tech requests or your question of the week or your card of the week or any other future hard-hitting questions we should ask Ken. Maybe next time we'll just bring him on and drill him with questions. But thank you for making it to the end of the episode. Have yourselves a magical Friday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.